Like a bunch of nothing.
In your own like demiurge prison.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Mystic in the Machine. Today we have our movie friends, LowRes and Hans. You might remember them from our last podcast, and we are super excited to have them on. But for those of the people in our audience who might not know who you guys are, would you just like to introduce yourself, talk about your show, let people know what's going on with you guys?
Sure. We are a homosexual Scandinavian couple that does an HGTV show together. No, Hans, how would you describe what we do? Well, you're on mute, Hans. So you're terrible. All right,
Yeah,
never mind,
what the
Hans.
hell?
How did that happen?
How did
Oh,
that
there we
happen?
go. That's not us.
This is how every episode of our podcast
This happens a
starts,
lot.
by the
Yeah,
way.
a lot of that for an hour.
Yes,
If
I'll
you-
do. I'll do the
If you two were the
introduction.
cursed couple, I would put LowRes as Emma Thompson and Hans as
Emma Thompson?
Emma
Not
Thompson.
Emma Stone. Sorry,
Stone.
Emma Stone and Hans.
Okay, well that's I mean that's the only time that being the woman I think would be the better pick when you're two guys being ascribed a role here. Yeah, no. Anytime I'll do, hey, this is Movies, a podcast about the act of cinema. With me today is Hans, and then it's 5 seconds of silence that I later have to edit out of the show because Hans does not realize he didn't unmute his microphone. So
Yeah. Or this microphone has a thing here at the bottom that I just realized why my microphone kept going mute at times that I didn't mean it to go mute, and then it was just I would just grab it and then
Your mute button is your fidget spinner. It's just like
yeah,
you can't help it.
yeah,
Too much
my autism my autism keeps me from being able to speak for 30 seconds. Yeah.
Well, great to have you guys on. There's topics that we've been dying to talk to you about, so let's just like friggin' dive right in. First of all, Sora,
Yeah.
the new text to video software that's taken the internet by storm.
Have you guys
currently.
seen the video kind of like announcing it and kind of revealing it and that kind of stuff? Or
We're gonna show it to you again anyway. Hang on, 2
we'll
seconds
just
to
play
share.
a little clip of
Yeah.
it.
I think they've put out some new example clips as well since that has formally been announced. So let's take a look.
Yeah. Let's
So
go.
the snow
There we go.
puppies.
All right.
Oh.
100 food hacks I learned in restaurants. Solo in Pakistan's dodgiest hood. I love those types of videos.
Immediately, a kangaroo waving his junk in our face.
Mhm.
Oh, I thought this was an ad. Oh, that's something that someone. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No,
That's
this
weird.
is
Yeah.
not even someone made. This is AI. This is the Sora stuff. Let me just full screen this.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
that does look a little.
Uncanny Valley.
Yeah.
Hans, you would not be
Yeah,
saying that
no.
if we did not know this was already Sora. I guarantee you that.
Not anymore. At the beginning, his face looks kind of like it kind of stretches weirdly, but yeah, this is fuck.
I
This
think-
is pretty like
I think what's the most fucking creepy thing about this is that this is the worst that this is gonna look like.
yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
everybody, like if you remember the early DALL-E stuff compared
Oh, yeah.
to
It was like the
what
Will
we
Smith
have now.
eating spaghetti one where it was like all deformed and like weird.
Yeah, or even like I guess that's someone made a beer advert or something like that,
Mhm.
and it just progressively gets crazier and crazier, and it just looks insane, and all the people are like morphing into each other, and hands are going everywhere and stuff.
Mhm.
And now it's like, what the fuck? This is now the shittest it will be from this
Yeah.
point on. So the bar has like moved massively.
But in terms
Just
of
a year.
emotion- Oh, sorry,
So
go
much
ahead, yeah.
so much has happened in a year. Like I have on my desktop from the early DALL-E days, or maybe it was Midjourney, a folder of fake Polaroids of people that I generated with AI, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. The face is a little fucked, but it looks cool. And now
Yeah.
you use Midjourney these days, and it's like you can get a completely photorealistic human being. And now this is just mind blowing and insane. This is what I've been waiting for I mean, obviously not that long. It's only been like 2 years, but it feels like we've gone, we've gone so far in such a short period of time with all of this.
Definitely. I mean, I'm interested about the nefarious ways that it's going to be used as well. What like one of the major things that people have been going on about is like deep fake porn. I remember like I think it was last week or the week before. I think it was Taylor Swift who they like made
Yeah.
AI deep fake porn of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it
As much
wasn't a
as-
problem. It wasn't a problem until someone made what was it? A football player's passing her around or some shit. Her ass was out and was painted red or something, and it's like, oh, well, this is a thing now. We have to make this illegal. It's like, well,
They also did one of Drake and his meat or something. I didn't see the picture.
I think that
but
one was
there
real. That was a little too floppy to be fake.
But yeah, like just it's like it's terrifying how like realistic it is. Obviously there are going to be like great cool creative uses for it. But then the internet is like the place where all the degeneracy happens and it like seems to be a race to the bottom. I don't know, I was more terrified than anything when I first saw this ad and the fact that now you can kind of generate these like crazy realistic images and how that's going to like impact culture. But I guess my first question for you guys is like, how do you think this is going to impact like film and like the film industry?
Well, I think a lot of people that work for Pixar and Universal are going to lose their jobs. So I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be like a clean, hey, everything's, a lot easier and better now. I think, well, first of all, I think a lot of the people who do work in the industry don't have a proper mindset or like a good mindset when it comes to knowing how to use the AI. And I'll give you an example right now. If you watch True Detective Night Country, which I think ends tonight, the day that we're recording this, there's an episode where there are AI posters in the background. And it was their way of getting around using copyrighted stuff. So they took like a Kiss poster and it was like some Russian or Korean girl band and blotted out certain things and changed certain things with it. But you just zoom in and you can see like, oh, this is very clearly AI. Things are a little messy in that AI sort of way.
All the words are fucked up and
Yep.
stuff
Oh
like
my
that. It's
God,
like a
no
made up
way.
language or something.
So
No way.
and that's also worse than doing like it's my uncle's band and they're playing at a restaurant or something, and you just made it in Photoshop for like, I don't know, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
and it looks shitty. Like that would be a lot better just because it's a thing. It's not like, well, we have a poster of a word that's not a word on the wall.
Yeah.
it said
I
like
mean,
rock.
even think of all
yeah.
I mean, even think of all the creative uses of sort of fake product placement, like in Tarantino's movies, how he has like fake brands that he makes and how that's sort of become like a signature for him. It's just that like extra little bit of care and like attention that moviegoers love, and it sort of adds to the mythos of the creator and of the picture itself. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about like just AI generating shit into like, and the fact that probably one of the first uses of it is in True Detective, like you said, and it's been done in such a shoddy shit way. I don't know. I feel like we're just going to see a lot of like really terrible uses of it. I think you're right that there are lots of people who will probably make really poor decisions and use it to cut corners, use it to avoid having to actually be creative as well.
I kind of see it like probably like everything else with around AI and technology in lots of ways, where it's just like it's a tool where creative people will be able to maximize it and everyone else will be able to do something.
It's going to ruin whatever business is going out of like Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or those countries that use Fiverr a lot to do like cheap animation or to do like cheap B-roll like that. Good.
Well,
good
they
luck.
all do
You
that
had
now.
a good run. Yeah.
If you go on
I guess it's just
Fiverr
learning.
and you want to get like a custom poster done, you're going to see a bunch of Mid-Journey results that are on Fiverr. And maybe people who don't know how to get involved in any of that, don't want to download Discord, they'll go that route. But for the most part, yeah, it's gonna change those industries. But I do think, it's gonna favor people who are on a smaller level, who have less means, because they're more incentivized to know how to use these things correctly than studios where they have tons and tons of money at their disposal. They could hire other people to handle whatever it might be and outsource that. They're going to get something lower, like in the case of True Detective. But what's shocking to me is just how close to photorealistic the animation is. I thought, okay, well, we're going to go through a cycle where it is going to be like Pixar movies, and maybe you can do like a faux 2D animation. It'll look like Splinter Cell or whatever, like cell shading, GameCube style. You'll be able to do something like that, and I think that'll probably be like the most seamless thing you can get away with if you're going to be very ambitious with this. But to see people's faces and the cats and everything, like that's pretty close. That's pretty
Yeah.
close to
I
passable.
think the thing is what you described as like if you try to make it. Oh, maybe I'm wrong as well. Maybe it would just totally understand exactly what you're talking about. But if you said, "Oh yeah, like late generation PS1 3D cell shaded game,"
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
would be so
Spawn.
specific. Like,
The
whereas
first
yeah, it's
Spawn
just
movie. Yeah.
the
It's just
first
like, what the fuck?
the first demo of this thing is just gone. Oh, the high street in Japan today.
Today.
I think for
2023.
advertisement or for like 15 to no, I don't know why I'm thinking 15 seconds. Maybe Vine was 15 seconds, right? Maybe like TikTok advertisement or modern day advertisement that's only from 30 seconds to a minute, where you can just do something very quick and work as an ad. Because when it comes to a movie theater, you can still tell, like, it's not as smooth yet where you're not able to tell when they use it. And I think the most egregious example of that is that Marvel series where they did the whole intro with Mid-Journey, I think, and it just kind of, I mean,
Earlier
it
Mid-Journey
kind,
too.
Oh my
yeah, it
God.
kind of works because you're like, okay, so they're going creative weird, but it's not creative weird. It's just, the animation or like the ability of Mid-Journey at the time wasn't great, so it made it look kind of weird, but it was because of the tool, not because they didn't want to do something better. But I think for I don't want to say movie obsessed, but the people that pay attention to like the very little details of movies, that's still is going to be a couple of years until you're not able to tell, when something is obviously done with AI, I think.
Well, I think a
But
lot of stuff is like. Sorry, go ahead.
it's advancing so quickly though, because I was talking to this about this to LowRes the other day. When we started doing Mass State Lottery and where AI is now, it's only been what 3-4 years, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And holy shit, like there's so many things that we thought might not be able to be rescued or that were lost, or like a take here or a sound here,
Yeah.
and a lot of little things that have been able to be rescued because of the advancement in a very short period of time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's definitely been helpful with Mass State Lottery because we did a lot of the shooting out in a blizzard, and so there were a lot of takes that just seemed unrecoverable because of so much noise. Because we were shooting in cars and there's just hail hitting the metal of it, and it was just too much to even consider using some of those. And then you wait a year, and they start introducing like the Adobe AI audio enhancer, and what does that do? It clips out all of the background noise, recreates the vocals, and it got better basically as they, were beta testing it. And then suddenly all these takes are usable now. And it's like, wow. So we can have a much more improved version of the movie than maybe what we would have gotten had that come out a year after we had finished that first round of shooting.
Big time, massively. I guess also because this sort of ties into Saltburn as well a little bit. The fact that culture has become like a lot more aesthetically driven in that sense. And in terms of the aesthetics, obviously you can do a lot of really interesting things with this software. But when it comes to things like performances, delivery, because obviously all we're seeing in the ads that they're showing for are images. We don't actually see any sort of performance or
No one
emotion,
talking.
no one talking,
Yeah.
and being able to sort of convincingly recapture a human performance and to allow that to have the story be impactful rather than just having it be this sort of aesthetic feast for the eyes. Like I remember like many years ago there were those Final Fantasy films that were made with Pures, and they're the most like they're the most painful thing to sit through and like watch because there's like
very slow too, but the
Yeah.
animation is so awkward. You're just kind of like, I don't want to look at this.
Yeah,
I don't wanna
literally.
stare at this.
And just also sometimes the dialogue doesn't match the emotion.
Yeah.
or and things like that, and like just
That's
in
kind of like classic Final Fantasy though. So if you like, if you if you loved all of that shit, then like you kind of love those movies as well. I loved those movies as a kid. I realized obviously how trash they were growing up.
Well, they're basically just cutscenes that are strung together
Yeah,
into
yeah.
a film, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Resident Evil did the same thing where there's like a whole series of those movies that are, just it's exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, so I put out a tweet, or I guess a post these days since it's X, right? Earlier where what I said was, I think what this AI is going to wind up doing is emphasize the quality of actual human performance, because there's just so much like weird shit humans do when they're acting or just behaving in any social manner that an AI probably wouldn't pick up on or include in whatever that is. And I think it's just going to bring things back around, because you will be able to tell it's AI after a couple of months. With the audio enhancer I was talking about, where we were able to recover Hans's vocals, you use that enough and you start to go, okay, I can hear maybe where it's getting a little robotic sounding. Your perception of what that is going to change with time. And I don't think people who are very spooked by the AI realize that or are thinking about that. They're just seeing this for the first time and going, wow, that's crazy, and think that their view of that is going to remain the same even as that improves. But it's not. It's going to naturally degrade, because you're created to observe patterns and figure out what's real and what's not. So it's not going to be as simple as just, oh, this is, we can't tell fact from fiction.
Exactly.
I think rather than sort of it being this thing where people think that they can just sort of type a combination of words and then it will actually spit out some sort of like theatrical level, Hollywood film, is not how it's going to end up. But how it could end up is like you shoot your actor in a fucking room, like wherever, doesn't fucking matter. That camera has already got volumetric capture and all this other information within it that you are not even aware of. You then put that into this movie maker software with AI stuff. It can then totally change what this guy is wearing, like where he is, the scene he's in. You could volumetrically place him different places. Obviously, then shift the camera, all this kind of stuff. So I could see it being like an incredibly powerful like tool. But then it's sort of how good a quality does all of that stuff track to his body and all of that thing. But it's that combination of like finding incredible actors and stuff like that, but then you don't have all that budget and all that stuff. Like how cheap a movie could become is absolutely insane. Right, like, so it's kind of promising in some ways.
It's also very lazy, I think, to just be afraid of it, because like if you want to talk about how saturated filmmaking is now, can it get worse? Sure. But the thing about the oversaturation of filmmaking now is that you have a lot of more content, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be good or that any of it is even worth following or paying attention to. I worked for a Marvel movie for a couple of days, and all I did was have a camera follow this 5'1", 5'2" little Irishmen that were doing flips and running around and jumping, and then we would just see what they would turn that into, which would be the super, like, so it would be like, oh, Iron Man is a little 4'11" Irishman. That's cool. Oh, it's Captain America. It's also a little Irishman, and that they're the most stereotypical Irish person there is. But on the computer, on the screen, that's the fucking Hulk. So you still need something behind the technology to turn it into something that's interesting, because as that's happened with that genre. It started very promising, but then because of the technology, everyone's gotten lazy, and then it's just like, well, we just shoot them in a room, and then whatever will build whatever in the background, and then little by little that stops being engaging, because after the third or fourth movie where they do that, you just kind of like, okay, that's cool, that's a cool background, I guess. Is there anything behind? No. All right, cool effect, I guess. I don't want to sit for 2 hours and watch that, you know what I mean? So the fact that there's people that are afraid of this technology, I feel like it's more out of laziness or like fear of learning how to use this tool to improve what you already do, as opposed to just
Mm.
saying, oh, if you use this, you're not an artist anymore because
Mhm.
code or whatever. It's just
Mhm.
yeah.
I think part of it is also the fact that we are going to be inundated with a lot of crap. I mean, someone on Twitter I saw compared it to industrial waste. Um, and how much of, like, you were talking about ads being sort of generated and things like that. um i think that I think the only saving grace with advertisement currently is that there is a certain human element in there, because it's quite a soulless thing, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, just being sort of inundated with a deluge of generated artificial advertisement films that are done on the cheap, even in children's entertainment. I mean, children's entertainment has really like decreased and in quality like over the years. And we're from England, where we take our children's entertainment very seriously. You guys, like, you owe us thanks for the Teletubbies, Thomas the Tank
Yeah,
Engine.
Thomas the Tank Engine was my guy back when
Yeah,
I was like
like
3.
and that stuff, that like real love, like real fucking love and soul and heart was in this country, the BBC specifically, and of course the
Yeah,
BBC has like
was that a Jimmy Seville show?
yeah.
What
All
was
right, all right, all right, mate. All right, mate.
that?
There's a lot of heart
Calm
in that
down.
show,
Mhm.
bro.
There's a lot of heart. Well, regardless of the BBC's pedo problem, there's a lot of heart that was put into a lot of the entertainment that I watched growing up, and I do appreciate that. That was the sort of thing that got me interested in art myself. Was, growing up watching things where people had put a lot of love and a lot of soul into what they were making. Fast forward to 2023, I'm like, babysitting my nephew, and it's like fucking, he's watching like stuff on YouTube that's like been made in Bangladesh, that's not necessarily edifying or entertaining. The people who are making it are metrics focused, who are just,
Just
they're
like
just sort of looking.
uncanny valley
Yeah.
3D
Yeah, because they're
animation
purely
with
metrics.
bad English.
Yeah, with bad English. They're purely metrics focused. Whereas the creators of Thomas the Tank Engine actually cared about children and like what was being put in front of children. These people are purely metrics focused. They're just looking to sort of siphon attention and money off of platforms. You have things like Coco Melon. You have all of these different things, and I feel like children's entertainment is also going to be an arena that is like one of the first things we see in the ad is like a dancing fucking kangaroo waving his junk around or whatever. Like, I feel like children's entertainment is
It's his
definitely
pouch.
his pouch. Yeah, I feel like children's
It's a little baby, little big penis. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like children's entertainment is definitely going to be one of the areas that's hit very hard with this it's sort of purely aesthetically focused, soulless content. And I feel like gone are the days where you'll have like a group of adults sitting around for hours creating like these stop motion characters and storylines. And
I watched the last Chicken Run, so I understand what they're doing to children's films now, and I don't approve.
I don't approve either.
I hope that they AI it up and make it more interesting. And maybe they can even, AI fucking, what's his name?
Mel
Our boy that's
Gibson.
been cancelled, Mel Gibson's voice back, so that it's
Yeah,
like
I was boycotting that when
morally
they dumped
okay
Mel.
to use his magic still.
Mm.
Use his magical riz.
Well, they started doing that with like YouTube, right? When once I don't even want to say from where, because I don't know where they're from, India and those places. Once they realize that American parents don't actually care about their children, and I'm generalizing because it's the biggest country in the world and whatever, but when they're just gonna put a phone or an iPad or a tablet on your face, and I get rid of you for 5 hours or whatever. Click on whatever you want. And then there's that big like Frozen Elsa Spider-Man thing where it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
people dressed as Spider-Man and Elsa being weird and children love them, and you see how many million views and million subscribers that shit gets, and just like recognizable characters doing things that they're not supposed to be doing, I guess. And that was a thing for a while, and I'm not sure if it still is, but I think that's probably where it's going to hit first, just because there's so many parents that don't care about what their children consume, and that's a huge audience there. And if you're able to take advantage of that, then you're going to be making a lot of money. And especially if it's something that's very low effort, like something like this would be, where where a 5-year-old's not gonna be like, oh, is that 6 toes on that child? Like they're not gonna pay attention to anything like that. It's
Oh,
just
look at
like,
Skibbity
oh,
Toilet.
cool.
Like
But-
Skibbity Toilet was
but-
generated
yeah.
in what's it called? Fucking Gary's
mod,
or
yeah, but
whatever.
that's like
Mm.
quite. I
Oh,
think
wow.
still what that guy is doing is still fairly advanced within what he's doing or whatever. But but the AI thing could make it so that
You can make an even more advanced
what,
Skibbity
what-
Toilet.
no, what was that? What was that YouTube amazing fucking production thing that was like a child's show that did really weird fucking fucked up?
Don't hug
Don't
me, I'm
hug me.
scared.
Don't hug
Yeah.
me, I'm scared. So now it's like if you had a fucking genius idea like a Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, but you didn't have 10 years experience in making felt monsters for fucking kids' TV shows, then you could also fucking maybe make something that would pass off in some fucking
Yeah.
But it
capacity.
takes
of that.
it takes actually caring, and obviously social, like the metrics of social media like play a role. People are so fucking metrics focused these days that the actual soul of the thing and actually caring about the audience comes secondary. Especially when it comes to kids content, it's a fucking cesspit of just cheaply badly created crap. And like I said, growing up in England, having things like Teletubbies, In the Night Garden, you know all of these different things that we watched as kids, Thomas the Tank Engine, knowing that the adults who were behind it actually cared about kids and actually had they actually had a soul. That soul then translates into the next generation. Whereas I feel like kids these days are just consuming a lot of soulless content. It's not inspiring them. It's not getting them interested in other things. Like I said, being exposed to British television as a young kid was what got me interested in art and culture in that sense. So yeah, that those are the things that I'm afraid about, is just how metrics focused our culture is, and how that focus on metrics tends to get in the way of actual storytelling and giving a shit about your audience and what you're giving them, especially if you can cheaply produce anything you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in a gray space right now where I think people aren't realizing that there's sort of a coin toss here in terms of how we're going to be consuming content in the future, because so many of these companies that have existed as very powerful streaming platforms for the longest time are hemorrhaging money due to their creative decisions. Netflix is hurting. I mean, we're seeing studios that are about to go under, like Paramount, and even their Paramount Plus service is not going to be able to save 800 people's jobs. Like, they're getting dumped. They're being tossed out. And now you're seeing X. I guess people are taking X seriously in terms of like the view counter on Tucker Carlson's 150 million viewed Putin interview and things like that. Even if it's just like you're scrolling by and that counts as a view. I think where the streaming and how we're sitting and watching things is more of an open road than what people think right now. Because, like I said, a lot of these people are going to go under, and I think the streaming services are starting to take the shape of cable as a result of losing all that money. So now it's like you can't use Netflix for like their lowest package without getting ads. Same thing with HBO Max. So I think the future of that is going to be reshaped in a way, and it might favor different types of creativity or different ethos. We'll find out. I think that's very up in the air right now, but I'm not I wouldn't say I'm like a nihilist in terms of or pessimistic regarding the future of entertainment. I think this is going to open up some interesting pathways ultimately that are probably going to lead us back to creative vision first.
I hope so. I really do, because I feel like recently things have been sort of a race to the bottom on these different platforms, and
I think it's conditioning. I think people, it's all it's taken is kind of about 10 years. We're in 2024 now, right? Like, that's how long kind of Netflix has been around as like a big staple in culture and like a movie distribution, and as a disruptive force and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's conditioned everybody to the convenience of clicking a button. Maybe that button is literally even on your fucking remote. Like, for some streaming services, if you're lucky enough and you're big balls enough. you've got the button on the fucking remote.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like it's now 10 years, it's a whole adolescent period and a whole generation of people that have not had that kind of like culture of pirating shit and just going elsewhere if you can't find what you want. I feel like you guys are kind of probably like similar kind of era as me. So it's a heartbeat. You're just like, oh, I can't find this on the two things I maybe subscribe to. Well, high seas it is, or like fucking if it's not like a really cheap fucking rental or something on like something that's easily 2 clicks away. Again, convenience.
Yeah.
I was looking for a 7-hour movie called Our Hitler, a film from Germany, and this isn't on anything. So someone on Discord.
Wait, that's not on Netflix? Netflix Our Hitler?
Someone on Discord was like, hey, I have 4 mega links you can download, and it'll take you like 3.5 hours. I was like, all right, I guess I'll watch it this way. So and I saw on like there was a X post that 28 days later is not available on Blu-ray, on DVD, and nowhere on streaming. So yeah, it's
Wait, what really?
Yeah.
Who knows what fuck shit thing they're gonna do with that movie, or they have to edit something for modern sensibilities or whatever, and then re-release it. Hey guys, it's a 4K version.
Yeah, they should upscale.
You don't see any. Yeah, you don't see any
do a
children
4K
dying
upscale
or like
with the handy cams that they were shooting on. That was probably 720p. I'm sure that would look excellent.
Oh my god, yeah.
Hey, with the AI thing, they could just kind of use that as a source and then feed it again and then generate it in 4K.
So I bought a Blu-ray off somebody of the movie Looking for Mr. Goodbar, which is another one of these films where you can't find it anywhere. And they say it's due to like music rights or something. Maybe it's that. It's not on streaming, never released on DVD, never released on Blu-ray. They took I guess it aired on cable or something. Somebody recorded it. They did a print, and then they upscaled it with AI, and it was an early upscale. So like you look in the background at like the extras faces sitting at desks, and it's just like warped fucking Black Mirror faces. It's spooky stuff.
Oh my god.
I feel like we've gotten to a point of entertainment too where it's like, I mean, what great content are you going to be missing out on because of AI? You know, like what is that great thing that you're like, well, fuck, that's gonna get ruined with AI now because we're gonna get more low effort shit. It's just gonna be more of what we already have. It's not like we're living in a great age of television or cinema or anything. So what is the big loss? Untalented people are gonna get paid less, as they should. This is just like you're still. I feel like no matter what technology or how technology advances, like you're still going to be trying to find the artists or the artistry in the things that you enjoy, if that's what you even like. So whenever new things like this happen, like movies made on iPhones or whatever, fine, you can make a movie on an iPhone, but you need a talented person to make it look like, number one, a movie. Exactly. And then also so that it doesn't look like something someone recorded on an iPhone. So just because you have the technology doesn't mean that it's going to be quality or that it's even worth watching. And honestly, we're at a point of entertainment where, I mean, look at that fucking Apple head thing right now. You can be walking down the street and looking at your map. Isn't that improving life? Isn't that better? So I mean, we've gotten to that Wall-E fat person in a pod part of entertainment. So what's gonna get worse? I guess like LowRes said, and I think this is something that we talked about on our show a couple of years ago, even, where it's like these streaming services are making such horrible decisions about the content and hiring so many untalented person because of XYZ that has nothing to do with their creativity or their talent. That sooner or later, spending $100 million on a series that nobody watches or nobody cares about because it's shit, it's going to come bite them in the ass. And we used to say, it's just going to become cable, where what do you get? Oh, you get HBO, Cinemax, and Cartoon Network, and you get a bundle of this for this amount of money.
Which they're doing now. Like Warner Brothers, Fox, and I think it was Universal or somebody, ESPN. They're doing a sports package now where you can essentially do that same thing. So it's only a matter of time. If Warner Brothers and Disney and whoever, if that's what they're doing, it's only a matter of time before they start doing that with the scripted content. So we're heading down that road of, hey, actually, you're basically using your Comcast box, your Cox wireless box. We're going right back to where we started from, and that might not be a bad thing for entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of. I think you said how much worse can it get? I think there was a timeline I saw, and it was had like movies and video games, sort of like year by year or whatever. And there's like some years you saw that like, oh, there's like Pulp Fiction, fucking, there's like 5 or 6 heavy hitters, like all in like 1999, or then 2000 is like, oh my god, and there was like 7 heavy hitters in that year. And then you kind of get to a point around like, I don't know, 2010 or maybe even just before that, and it just sort of like is going like this like every fucking year. And then even in, like, maybe that's not even just my recent memory, like you just look at the data, it's like consolidated, and Hollywood is becoming consolidated into these single movies that make the fucking big hit, and they go international everywhere, Top Gun extravaganza, fucking everyone's buying a ticket.
We're doing a series right now on our podcast, Movies, a podcast about the active cinema, which you can listen to on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, where we're doing Warner Brothers in the 1980s. And so I went over to Wikipedia and I started taking a look at, because you can break down studios' releases by decade. I was like, all right, I was taking a look. Okay, 1980 to 1989, Warner Brothers was putting out probably at a max 15 movies. And maybe about half the movies they would put out would be like household name big movies that would get like good money for that time. And then I was like, well, let me take a look now at the 90s. Okay, the 90s. Then it looks like, okay, they're doubling the amount of movies they put out. Then you take a look at the aughts and the 2010s, and it's like they're putting out 3 times as many movies. Half of these are Indian movies. And the rest are all like flops, and then you get like one Dark Knight in there. You get the one movie that makes $1 billion, and the rest of these movies are shit that you just throw out with the garbage. And that seems to be their model now. Instead of trying to do like, okay, we're gonna do like 15 elite, like pretty well preserved, gonna perform well at the box office movies. As long as we get the one that makes $1 billion, then who cares about the rest? That seems to be the mentality.
Yeah. But this is somewhat unrelated, but like Francis Ford Coppola's film, the film that he's been working on for the past couple of years. He put all of his own money into it. It's classified as an indie film, even though it has like 120 million.
Yeah, he sold like a quarter of his winery to make this movie. It's very admirable what he's doing. And
big time.
It's been his entire career. Like he did the same thing with Apocalypse Now, where he didn't know how to end the movie. It was one mess after another. And he's like, fuck, I got to get out of this hole. What am I going to do? All right, I'll start putting up my own money. And he put like $1 million up. So he's doing it again, but
I think I think it's super brave and stunning of him. I almost think it's like a last big hurrah for cinema as an art. You have somebody who really cares about the art of cinema, putting their own money on the line to do exactly what they want on their fucking terms. I think that's super admirable. I just hope it's actually like good.
That's the problem too. He hasn't had like a really good movie in a while. I like Tetro, but Tetro is like all the weight of Vincent Gallo and Alden Ehrenreich starring in that. But he's got a great cast for this. He's got Adam Driver. He's got Forrest Whitaker, John Voight, Dustin Hoffman. He's got like a cool, eclectic mix of actors in the mix for this movie.
Because I'm a big old hippie. One of my favorite filmmakers, Alejandro Jodorowsky, he says he makes movies to lose money. And I kind of feel like that's the kind of ethos you have to have as an artist, is somebody who cares about the art of it. I guess in our like hypermetrics focused culture, it is really focused on like the big hitters, and there's not a whole lot of care that goes into everything else. So I'm really glad that Francis is taking this risk. Hopefully it doesn't ruin his career and like.
What's the thing?
Well, he's 85 or something. He's got like 5 years of career left and life left if he's lucky.
True. I didn't know he was that old. Jesus.
Yeah, he's pretty old.
Fuck.
It's the era
all the
when
great
no one
ones
is,
are
taking
they're all
risks, though,
dying.
right? Oh, sorry.
Wait, so what did you say?
I said that they're all the greats from like 70s, 80s. They're all oh, you kind
Yeah.
of look at the
Hanging
list and
in.
you're just like, okay, how many more does Scorsese have? Oh,
Yeah.
he looked a little rough on this last one. Or who's the one that just died from The Exorcist? We
Oh,
just
Friedkin. He
yeah,
was like
Friedkin just
90 and he put a movie out. So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
and you have our friend Paul Schrader who looks rougher every time he posts a photo, but he's still doing it out there.
You
Um,
guys
going
cyberbully Paul Schrader. it's so mean.
no,
we
no, not
love
at all.
I
Paul.
see on Facebook.
We
I see
love
on
Paul.
Facebook
Yeah,
bullying Paul
he's
Schrader.
great. He's just horny posting long paragraphs about an actress that he's worked with or whatever. No, I think you, Jake, you mentioned something about like how many grades are there still. I actually lost what you, and I think I confused what you were going to say with what I wanted to say, but uh we don't really get. Oh yeah, you mentioned something about no one taking risks anymore, and
Yeah.
that something that was very evident on that episode that we did to me, because I decided to pick movies like After Hours and like The Outsiders, which are very small movies about, not a lot happen. I mean, in After Hours, a lot of things happen, but at the end of the day, it's a movie about one guy in one night. And that ended
Mhm.
up. I mean, I don't know how successful it was, but I know that critically acclaimed. And it's a really
I think it was
fun,
a
entertaining
flop.
movie. Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
Scorsese in the 80s was kind of that was looked at as a low point in his career. Like he was washed up.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that movie, it's a lot more entertaining than anything I've seen recently, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons why all of these streaming companies are failing. That I don't want to say it's all DEI or like that whole thing that's going on in right wing circles, but it's been very evident that the reason why they pick these filmmakers, or they have for years now, it's nothing to do with them being creative or them having a body of work where they've proven that they can do something cool, or where they've proven that they have a vision. There's
Mhm.
like five maybe that you can pick where you can say, okay, so look at his short films and look at his movies before he got his big break. That's cool. He has a track record of work. He'll do something interesting, before the studio comes and like takes everything away from them.
Hmm.
But I feel
Mhm.
like now everything is so safe when it comes to picking people, because you're checking boxes instead
Yeah.
of, and the boxes that you're checking are not, was their movie good? Where
No.
was
Mhm.
their
Yeah.
script great? No, the
Yeah.
boxes has nothing to do with the actual
Yeah.
output. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I feel like whenever you log into a streaming service, personally, I guess I don't want to say you.
No, no,
It
no.
takes
I
me
think
like it took me like half an hour to find anything that I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
cool, this looks all
Yeah.
right,
easily,
Same here.
easily,
Same.
easily.
We're always fighting.
I think that I think that the train of thought I was on is basically that I think that from that time there has been a culture shift, and I don't know if it's like corporatization, financialization, or however you would want to kind of phrase it, or like
Yeah,
it feels like shareholders and stuff like that would mean a lot
yeah.
more, and there was kind of a lot less old dudes that just ran the studio and made fucking
Mhm.
decisions and stuff like that. And maybe that was like all toxic masculinity and like bad things happened in that environment,
Of
absolutely. But
course.
hey, a lot of fucking amazing art and cinema and shit came out of that system as well.
Yeah.
And it seems like in the last 20 years, that culture shift that is very like health and safety, big corporate, like office culture, all of this kind of stuff has infected all of these industries to just churn out beige slop that does
Mhm.
have to have some kind of franchise or a sequel or something that it's kind of
Yeah.
based upon or some shit like this. Nobody makes anything original. And this is kind of maybe a nice segue into like talking about Saltburn
Yeah.
a
I
little
was
bit
gonna.
as
I was
well.
gonna
Is
say.
that there's one aspect of Saltburn that I really liked was that it was an original fucking
But even
script
Yeah.
though the thing
and
is,
film, and it was not anything based on anything else, and was just a
Yeah.
total its own thing.
but
And
even
like I've got all the time in the world for stuff like that. There was another film that I watched last year called The Crater, which was a sci-fi film that was an original film, and I watched it purely on that basis. Fucking terrible. But like I feel like those things you've got to just kind of give them the extra bit of space and
Yeah.
time to do that.
definitely. But back to Saltburn. Let's segue into Saltburn since that's our next topic.
Yeah.
I think that I think it sort of suffered from some of the conventions we've been talking about, but in a different way, in the sense that I always make the joke that I feel like it was a movie made for like letterbox Zoomers.
Oh
It's
yeah,
sort of,
that's a
it's sort of
prevalent thing these days.
yeah,
Certainly.
yeah. And like in terms of the aesthetic sensibilities of the internet, because the film is about even the subtext of the film is about somebody, a young person who's suffering from deep status anxiety and is attempting to climb up a social ladder and to enter a social milieu. And obviously within our like, you know, social media led culture, lots of young people feel that same status anxiety that the character is feeling, and I feel like social media has transformed people into this sort of sociopathic character that we see in the film. The status anxiety, number one, and the desire to sort of climb upwards. So I think it was a film that was speaking directly to social media driven impulses within the zeitgeist. And then in terms of its aesthetics, it's an aesthetes film. It's sort of very aesthetically driven, and it's sort of hearkening to very niche, sort of Tumblr-esque aesthetics. And this seems to be a trend within films that are like marketed towards the letterbox Zoomers, is they're sort of cherry picking these elements of internet culture and mashing them up into like a film. Even his dance at the end was quite clearly meant to be memed on TikTok. And
I feel like
and
even there are lots of like creative decisions down to the way that things are shot, so that things can be cropped into a vertical like TikTok like framing. And because that whole dance, it is so focused with him, and the peripheral is just whatever, but the whole thing is just that. And so the scope of the framing of that whole iconic bit of the film is so easily just
yeah. And I feel like
TikToks.
screenwriters today are like screenwriting with that in mind. Even before, when we were talking about, you know,
That's
the fact
interesting.
yeah. And I think
you know,
if you want to be successful, it's actually a thing to do. But whether you should pander to that or not is a different question. But it's definitely the thing, is to sort of pander to these niche cultural aesthetics and have your film be memeable. And I feel like this sort of caved to all of those conventions like through and through. But yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, that something I was talking about recently with Jake Hanrahan, who I think has been on your show before. Okay.
Oh my god, I haven't heard from him in ages. I hope he's doing well.
He'll hit me up like 3 times a week being like, bro, you got to check this out. And it's just some weird YouTube video. It's like, oh, yeah, I think I've seen this. I don't know. The Mask, Connor O'Malley's The Mask. Okay. And we were talking about how, because 4:3 as the aspect ratio really popped off again in like 2019, 2020. And it became like on our level of things, where like he's doing Popular Front, I was doing Comfort System sketch comedy at the time. 4:3 was like the cool indie thing to do, and then it caught up with the advertisers and like mainstream industry people, where like Zack Snyder's Justice League is 4:3, and you're going to see a bunch of commercials on YouTube that are also in that aspect ratio. And now I'm wondering if, for that exact reason of it's going to be easier to advertise on TikTok and Instagram Reels or whatever it might be, you're not losing anything on the sides here. You can do that and efficiently. So that's interesting. I never considered that, but that would make a ton of sense.
I feel like social media is deeply influencing the way that new cinema is being created, not just in terms of memeability, but also in terms of like how it's shot, the types of topics that are it's centered around, even what we were talking about before with like the DEI stuff. A lot of that is like internet fucking bullshit bleeding into these like sorts of environments and the sort of discourses and expect box checking sort of exercises that are done online. And you know, these are the things that are sort of bleeding into the conventions of how art is made now. And yeah, I definitely saw social media's fingerprints all over Saltburn. And the creator of the film, she's a millennial, like an older millennial. She is obviously very inculcated in internet culture. I think she knew exactly what she was doing, and it sort of.
I think when if you look at like the sort of really successful films of hang on.
She's also an aristocrat as well.
If you look at the very successful films of last year, being like Barbie, for example, and then Saltburn, on like the 2 different scales of production cost and all that kind of stuff. Barbie has this fucking huge franchise. There's all of this stuff. huge fucking celebrities in it, like massive marketing budget. The whole thing is gonna be cost for clicks wise. Sure, they made a big impression. Everybody, the whole fucking world was pink for a week, but you know, they paid for that. Saltburn
Yeah.
literally just through its shot decisions and like way that it's kind of yeah, designed the film and composed the film has made
Memed
it
its
so
way into the
has
zeitgeist.
memed its way into the kind of impressions that Barbie has. We were even just mentioning before we started recording, like
Murder on
how
the dance floor.
Murder on the Dance Floor
It's
and
just
how
like
that has.
ubiquitous.
I think it's even it's come in at like 98 back into the charts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
After 20 fucking years,
Yeah.
22 years.
Even the lady who sang
Um,
the song, Sophie, I believe her name is.
Sophie.
Sophia like Spexter. I remember.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
She's
I was a
been on
teenager when that shit came out.
Yeah, same. I was. It takes me back. But she's been on
Yeah.
podcasts recently, and she's sort of been. It's similar to when I think Kate Bush was her song was used in
Mhm.
Stranger Things, and the
Yeah.
Zoomers discovered Kate Bush for the first time, and all of these sorts of media outlets were reaching out to Kate Bush, and because Kate Bush is like a Bayes like forest fairy, she was like, "No, I'm too good to talk to any of you, but enjoy," sort of thing. But she, you know, Sophie's been around on podcasts. The song isn't in the zeitgeist. She's producing a new album, I believe. I heard somewhere. So it just shows how the power of memeing and how cinema is now just like a giant meme. Like it's centered around turning itself into a giant meme. I think that can be used for good. It could also be used for evil, but it's definitely the thing now for
Well,
sure.
I think it's not, it won't be a sustainable thing because despite the cost per clicks difference between those two and the engagement that they both got, like as cultural things, there was still way more money made from Barbie, and I don't know like how the meme and the amount of attention it gets and like the memeability of it and all of this stuff.
If that
How
translates to dollars.
yeah, how does that exactly translate to dollars for like after its theatrical release? Certainly.
Well, I think
like-
Barbie took the more traditional approach of being able to do that, where I think the "I'm Just Ken" song and a lot of Ryan Gosling's moments seemed to be like the standouts that people would remember and then would get like memed in other ways. Back in the day before we had like the TikTok or Instagram or anything like that, where you're thinking like, okay, this is a moment that we want passed around on social media. You know, people would, you know, they take painstaking efforts to put things in movies that are going to be like, oh, that's going to be a memorable line, or that's going to be an earworm or something. You know, there was attention paid to like elements of film. Yeah, sure. Like things that will be iconography that is associated with the movie that is going to, you know, promote the film after the fact. And so this just kind of feels like the next version of what that would be. And Barbie's like the more traditional film. Like you're absolutely right. Like, and I think that might be the more lasting approach at the end of the day.
But even just in terms of it being memeable means something very specific. It has to be something that people can easily replicate, like a dance or a facial expression. Or, you know,
he should have danced with a cup or something, because then they could have sold something as
they
well.
could have sold something as well. Maybe.
Because then because
Stanley.
that's the point though, is that the actors that are in Saltburn, that's really valuable to them. That's now like they are in this thing that has become such a cultural phenomenon, so that they are going to gain value through the extension of that recognizability, like everything else. But then the director and someone that is making the film, how favorable is that to you? Because everybody knows it, but then if you struggle to sell fucking tickets and you can't make a second film, like maybe you get the second film, but then again that doesn't really get the tickets, doesn't get the numbers, because at the end of the day, that's like that, and this is kind of what it comes down to again, is like the financialization and the bottom line of stuff. And I think it's amazing when those people do take those risks, but it's just, I want to see like how that does translate into something more sustainable, basically.
Yeah. It was interesting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I can tell you, I would not have watched this movie if it wasn't for TikTok, because my girl kept being like, "Oh, have you heard of this Saltburn movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, but it's one of those movies that people just hype up online. I don't care." Like I was just like, because I was very put off by what was the other? There was a Netflix movie that came out earlier, Leave the World Behind. That was another
Yeah.
movie that on TikTok like it would
Mhm.
pop up a lot, and I was like, I don't fucking want to. And
Yeah.
then she watched it and she was like, "Oh, this is kind of shit," So it's not I guess that reliable. But when it comes to what's his name, Jacob Alardi or whatever his name is, he's huge on that platform. So it went from like before that movie came out. I know that he was in a couple of other movies like teeny roles, whatever, where he would get that kind of attention. But when it comes to this movie and the way that it was being promoted by just people that liked it, with clips, with the songs from the movie, just like little compilations of the
Mhm.
actor or like the other Barry, whatever his last name is, they would do little compilations of either them in the movie or, oh, were they cute when they were younger? And these didn't come in
Yeah.
Saltburn, like, you know what I mean? So it's
Wasn't
like,
he cute when he was slurping cum out of the drain?
because he wanted to be just as cool as the other guy, so he ate his
Didn't we
cum.
see
Yeah,
someone make
so
like a fucking cocktail menu
Yeah, a
themed
cocktail
out
menu.
of
Yeah.
It was like
exactly
a cum.
that?
No, it wasn't. It was a blush bath bomb
Oh,
that's supposed to
Mm.
replicate the cum scene in
Oh,
Saltburn.
well.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Damn
That's
it! You know,
the
So
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
so I think as a tool, it sucks if this is on purpose. Like if they're already making movies like that, where, well, we have to frame this in a way that it can be edited properly on a TikTok. That sucks, because one of the main reasons why I enjoyed this movie was the visual aspect of it, or the visual style that it had, which I found to
Mm.
be very different and very yeah, different, I guess. So that kind of pulled me into the Cruel Intentions like storyline that we
Yeah.
got. Is very
Yeah, yeah.
similar to that, but if you remove the shock from everything that happens, it's kind of a whatever movie, but you add that extra visual element and the performances are good, so you're just like, all right, if
Mhm.
that was planned so that they could do TikTok advertise, then I don't know. It kind of ruins, that for me a little
Well, you're
bit.
this
gonna
is
see a
just
lot
Because
more of
this is
that.
just my suspicion,
Well,
and
well,
yeah, it's a
yeah,
pattern that
I
I
think
think.
you're gonna see a lot. Even like because Lorenz mentioned Priscilla before we started recording,
Mm.
and even that is a way of is sort of appealing to modern internet based niche aesthetics, like the coquette, which is a sort of demonic child of Tumblr. And that's something that Lana Del Rey kind of used to launch her aesthetic. And again, she's a music artist whose aesthetic is just as much part
Mhm.
of um her sort of artistic repertoire as her music is. And the Priscilla film, it looks like a Tumblr Lolita fucking coquette
Oh yeah.
fucking blah blah blah. And that's something that's like super in the zeitgeist, especially with like young women, the whole soft life aesthetic, the stay at home girlfriend aesthetic. These are discourses that are happening online currently. And it's something that's sort of floating around in the kind of feminine zeitgeist online. The like sort of BPD zeitgeist online. And I don't think that these people are unaware of that. I think there could be interesting uses of appealing to internet discourses, especially if you do it subversively. But I think a lot of these people are doing it cynically because they know that it will grab attention, and that people are so aesthetically driven these days, more so than even when it comes to character or anything else. People, since we're in an identity kind of obsessed culture, people derive a lot of their identity from whatever aesthetic or niche aesthetic that they're identifying with. And if there's a film that sort of, tickles that itch, people are more likely to go and rush to watch it. So that it's selling the aesthetic even more than, like, when I was growing up, the actors were the thing that we went to the movies to see, or the director. Now it's the aesthetic and the memes. And I think that is definitely like an internet culture driven phenomenon. Even the storyline of Saltburn being surrounding, status anxiety, I think that has a lot to say about the social media kind of environment we're in. I think, yeah, we're gonna see way more of this stuff, in both good and bad ways, I guess. Yeah.
Fuck, LowRes, We have to do another GoFundMe so that we can just have a, I don't know, a scene of my character dancing naked in the street to like an orchestral version of an Ice Spice song or something like that.
Well, do you not
Very-
remember that you do sing and dance in the movie, Hans?
I don't want to
You just
spoil
don't
that.
be in the right-
You brought it up like a handful of times in the past month on the show.
Yeah.
No, I'm surprised you just thought it was an okay movie. I thought Saltburn was good, except for the very end when it's he's a diabolic mastermind and he killed all those people. I could have done without that. I would have rather he just kind of like stuck around and realized, okay, if I just wait long enough, I'll get everything I want. I would have liked that more. I would have liked that ending a bit more.
I love
Well,
Rosamund Pike. Rosamund Pike's fucking performance was fucking
She's great.
brilliant.
They almost
so
give
good.
they almost give him that as well, where it's just like the kind of context you get is that he's paid a load of money to fuck off buying the dad of the house or whatever, and that is kind of literally like you won, dude.
Yeah.
That was it, and then when it kind of keeps going, then
He wanted the castle. He wanted it all.
Yeah,
You know, giving them the Kaiser Soze moment of like, now we're gonna explain how he killed everybody. I fuck that.
Yeah.
I loved
also-
everything else up until then.
yeah.
Wait, so does that mean that he was such an evil mastermind that the cum eating was just for him? That was just like, this is just
pretty
my
much.
this is just my thing that I like doing. You know,
It was
I
to
know
market,
how.
I love how you
Lust
I love how
Bathhouse.
you quickly suggest for you to do a dance instead of the cum eating scene.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
That
not that,
might
much of
already
an
be in
artist yet.
Yeah.
It's already there.
that was behind the scenes.
You gotta sell the movie, you know. Like Tommy Wiseau said, he had to show his ass in the room.
He had to. That movie would have never made money unless he did that. Everybody knows that.
Even like the era of not taking risks and stuff like that. This film was kind of a risk in the way that it was at least somewhat original.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was another culture that was sort of hasn't carried through into the modern age as well, where there are things like Life of Brian would not have been made and wouldn't have been made by any studio, and it took literally Eric Idle being buddies with the Beatles, that were one of the biggest bands ever, like at the time at least, to fucking step in and remortgage a house and actually make the fucking film.
Yeah.
And without that, like we would have had that would not have been a thing.
Yeah, same with
Yeah.
Alejandro Jodorowsky's Holy Mountain. It was actually John Lennon and Yoko Ono saw a midnight screening of El Topo in New York, and they were like, "Who the fuck is this guy? This guy is great." And he had like the idea for Holy Mountain, and they were like, "We'll give you all the money." So a lot of like the films that we love would never have been made if someone hadn't just like fucking foot the
If it
bill
weren't
for
for a
it.
Beatle.
If it weren't for
Pretty
the Beatles,
much,
yeah.
pretty much. So
Pretty
it's like
much.
who's the fucking modern Beatles actually
like,
kind
where
of
the
like
fuck-
funding creative projects?
Yeah.
You're not telling me that Taylor Swift's actually
Yeah.
wasn't declared like a billionaire or
Why
something
doesn't
recently,
she
and
fucking?
like
I would hate her a lot less if she was making good cinema happen.
Well, I don't
Well,
think
she
I don't
has
think
a-
she has the taste for that. Also, I would
has a
say
movie
maybe
coming out,
Kanye
right?
would be a better pick to be a what's the word I'm looking for? Just like a
Benefactor.
quiet
he's a
investor.
billionaire
Yeah,
as well, though,
benefactor.
right? He's a billionaire
Yeah.
as well, right? So like, what's it like? $1 million in the 70s would have been, I guess, $10 million today or something. Like,
Ooh.
what's that to a fucking billionaire, man? That's insane. Like, you have more celebrities with more money than ever. Yeah, it feels like we're in the worst kind of
Cultural drought.
cultural art kind of lulling shitty era. Like, and it's only getting worse. So like what's gonna motivate kind of people to take risks and make better stuff?
That's what I say. You make it. That's what Alejandro Jodorowsky says. You make movies to lose fucking money. Like sometimes, like, and that's the thing is he was able to take risks and make. And Holy Mountain is one of my favorite films, specifically because it kind of does really interesting things with, like with it's like it's a movie like a movie from another planet. Like if a movie from another planet was like beamed down on Earth, and it's like something totally different from the norm. And he was able to sort of experiment in that way because somebody just gave him the money to do that.
Mhm.
And it's difficult when the industry is in such gridlock in the way it is, and the way things are produced and the way things are sort of put forward entails so many different processes. And you know, it is how it is. But yeah, I hope that what you're saying is true, and that these new tools will enable people to kind of, you know, experiment especially those without giant budgets and those who don't just have a Beetle on speed dial to give them $6 million to make
I think so. I think it's going to
Yeah.
strengthen the people that are operating at a lower level, and it's going to
Yeah.
hinder the people with money who have, owned the establishment for the longest time.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, there's no. It doesn't really seem like there's those types of angel investors that are out there. Although, Million Dollar Extreme has their sequel series, World Peace 2, coming out. Apparently, that was just funded by a crypto guy, and that was like a guy with an extra $1.5 million was just like, yeah, I like you guys. Here's $1 million. Here's $1 million. So,
Wow.
I think the lesson is just befriend crypto people.
That's the new Beetle.
That's the new Beetle.
Yes,
That's the
yeah.
new, the new Beetle.
Fuck.
Just a Mexican guy with $1 million in crypto. Which, by the way, on the topic, I did want to bring this up earlier because I'm into crypto. I'll get advertised things on YouTube where it's like clearly a Chinese man talking at the camera, but it has like an AI Elon Musk face, and it has like the eyes that make contact with you no matter where you go.
Oh my
And
God.
they do an AI voice and everything, and they're like, if you just do this QR code, we will airdrop you Bitcoin for free. And like YouTube doesn't do anything about this. I've seen Elon, I've seen like Mark Cuban or somebody. They do it with
Oh
a
my
couple of
God.
different people, and nobody seems to give a shit.
Damn.
Seems dangerous. I don't know.
That is pretty fucking crazy.
There is some like fraudulent AI content that I really enjoy, and there's someone that's basically been
like the
getting...
Joe Rogan boner pill ones.
No, not the boner pill ones. They've been getting him to do podcasts with this Skyrim deity called Dagoth and so they like endlessly like talk about really like autistic things within the Skyrim universe, and like that tickles my fucking fancy in every way.
Is that just AI talking to AI? You
Yeah,
just
so it's
listen
like
to that
it's an AI character of Dagoth with like his like voice or whatever from
Talking
the game.
about Redguard crime statistics or whatever.
Yeah, who are like the
Mm.
black people in Skyrim and shit. It's just like the funniest shit, man. It's
Well,
so
on-
it's so funny.
On one of the latest Legion of Scans episodes, what they did was they fed AI their comedy specials and I guess hours of podcasting or whatever, and then AI came up with a minute of original comedy, and that shit was creepy because it came very close to their material,
Mm.
Yeah.
but there was like a slight, okay, their voice sounds kind of not exactly what it was
Mhm.
like, but their cadence was very similar, or like the type of jokes and the type of things was very similar. And
We
like,
saw
Just
the
to
I don't
Colin one.
Bring it back
Yeah.
to Thomas the Tank Engine. George Carlin was
Yeah.
on Shining
Oh, yeah.
Time Station, and I think he might have played like the Ringo Starr voiceover character or whatever. But anyway, this just reminded me there's an hour of AI George
Yeah.
Carlin
Yeah, yeah,
stand up
yeah.
that's out there that
Yeah.
I listened to that and it sucked. It was bad, but it was
It wasn't funny.
it-
No.
no, not at all. But it was kind of close. Like I feel like it didn't maintain Carlin's vocal cadence, but it was kind of what his humor was, and it was close
Mhm.
enough to his voice where it sounded like, okay, this is just kind of like getting more depressing the more I listen to this. Like, this is like the manufactured, horrible 1984 style entertainment that you would get
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that sort of dystopian future.
Yeah, pretty
Well,
much.
even seeing the Sora thing just to round it off, like I feel like that first episode of the new series of Black Mirror
Mhm.
is way closer than a lot of people really think.
what the one where the lady gets deep faked and then she ends
Into
up
her
into
own Netflix show, and then she's just watching her life like from the day before, basically. But then to her own self with Selma Hayek as her, and fucking all the this is where like that seemed like, oh whoa, that's like pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And they didn't say it was Netflix, they said it was like some other Streamflix or some shit like this.
right.
But it was just like, yeah, dude, that's actually, and especially after seeing that Sora stuff, you're like, that was only a year ago, and that was the same time as the Black Mirror
Black Mirror
series.
So speaking
So-
of angel benefactors, though, I don't know if you guys saw this, but this is probably like 10 years ago. Matt Damon had like a reality show where he brought on aspiring filmmakers.
Project Greenlight. I love
Yeah,
that
Project
show.
Greenlight. So he was like,
Yeah.
I'll give you the money for the movie. I'm going to bully and psychologically torture you first.
Coach.
Before...
We were gonna do a kind of a ripoff of that, but we were just gonna like fuck with the filmmaker and ruin their movie, and that would have been the show. We might still do that. I don't
Do
know.
it.
I love
Do
Project
it.
Greenlight. I've seen every season except for this new one where they were like, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Nah, we don't need them. We have Kumail Nanjiani and Issa Rae.
Oh my
I
god.
was out on that. I was like, nah,
Oh
I'm
my
not signing up for
god.
this one.
Oh my god,
No,
didn't
busted.
Issa Rae recently come out and say she came out and said something about how executives are all
They're not
old.
living up to their agreement with the DEI thing because nobody's watching. Nobody's watching any of the shit, and they're hurting big time as a result of that. Like
Yep.
they overindulged in like, okay, we're gonna make this the face of the network. Like I remember my Amazon Prime, I got a Fire Stick or something. Like every month in 2021 and 2022, they were like, it's Asian month, it's Pacific Islander month, it's gay month. Hey, check out all this stuff, and clearly nobody was watching. It didn't take with people,
No.
so they're
No.
hurting.
Yeah.
Kumail's not even made anything, isn't he? Just an actor.
He wrote The Big Sick, which got him and his girlfriend an Oscar nomination, but he hasn't done anything since except cry that nobody liked that Eternals movie, and he got
And
abs for.
steroids.
Oh, my abs! I didn't have to do this. He did it because he wanted a better looking wife. Let's get fucking real. Disney didn't tell him he had to get abs.
He wasn't happy with the arrangement.
Yeah, isn't that funny? He got millions. Well, I'm sure at least a million to just get ripped and pretend to be a spaceman. And he's
Yep.
like, I had to go to therapy, and
Yeah.
because people were so mean to me online. It's like, motherfucker, people are mean to us online, and we have
Yeah.
no money. Like,
Yeah.
at least you got a nice paycheck out of it. Fuck.
Oh
I
my
wish I got
god.
$1 million for pretending to be a space Indian or whatever he was in that movie.
Space.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god. No, I no, it's fucking it's weird. The landscape is really weird. And I think that all this AI shit is gonna make it even weirder, but you know what? I'm here for it because at least it's gonna be entertaining. And speaking of entertaining, what did we like from last year and what are we looking forward to this year? I guess I'll go first. My favorite film from last year was probably the one with Nicolas Cage that we saw. What was it called again? Fuck.
Dream scenario.
Dream
Yeah,
scenario.
yeah, I really enjoyed Dream Scenario. I thought that was really good. I'm still yet to see Hayao Miyazaki's Boy and the Heron. I know I'm gonna love that because I love Studio Ghibli. I love everything he does. And what am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to the new Francis Ford Coppola film as well. That's like my highly anticipated one for this year. What about you guys? Well, Jake, you go first, and then they'll go.
Was Banshees of Inisherin last year, or was that the year before?
was the
See,
year
you
No.
guys are in the UK, so I don't know when you get movies. Like Hans
So
was like,
late.
my favorite movie of the year is The Batman. I was like, what are you talking about? That came out 3 years ago.
It's Caligula. Wait, that came out in 1970.
No,
Yeah.
Banshees of Inisherin was literally only within last year or the year before. It must have been.
Yeah.
It was before.
You're
Because
fucking
I think it was nominated for an Oscar, right?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
2022 for the US.
Yeah,
2022.
yeah, dude.
Fuck.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
get them late here.
Oh
We get
well, that
them
was
late.
2023 for me. I feel like so.
But it was made there. It was made in the UK. Wouldn't you guys get it early? I don't know. Maybe not.
No, because it's
It's
Hollywood.
all-
It's
yeah.
a Hollywood studio, and then
Mm,
all of
okay.
that stuff. So we get everything late, which fucking sucks.
Yeah.
When we were in Iceland last week, they get everything even later there. So yeah, there are places that are far worse than here when it comes to that.
Oh yeah, if it wasn't for piracy, I'd be fucked. Like I would
Yeah.
watch
Yeah.
nothing.
literally,
Yeah.
literally. I would say Dream Scenario as well. Then, to be
Yeah,
honest,
yeah.
like there's nothing. That's what I mean. It's fucking dead last year.
What about this year? What are you anticipating?
Not really sure. Haven't seen anything that's really grabbed me yet. If I'm honest.
Okay, give us the tea. Give us the tea on what you liked and what you haven't liked, so we can watch it.
Well, the thing that was cool about Dream Scenario, like I didn't really respond to the movie. I thought to me, it felt like Christopher Borgli had a great idea for a short film and then didn't really know what to do with the rest of the movie after about the 1
Yeah.
hour mark because it kind of
Definitely.
changes, it shifts
Mhm.
its course a bit. But Christopher Borgli, I remember watching his short films and then suddenly saying, "Oh, he's got to deal with A24 and Ari Aster," and seeing that he gets Nicolas Cage, like being able to see the evolution of him has been really cool. But for 2023, My top movie of the last year, and this kind of comes back around to what we were talking about before, it doesn't really seem like there are any new masters yet, right? Like the people who are making the best films were making the best films in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Everything after kind of remains to be seen. Like maybe you could make a case for Yorgos Lanthimos or somebody like that, or Christopher Nolan. I guess
Mhm.
Christopher Nolan's probably the closest thing to that, but even a lot of his movies, in my opinion, are pretty bland. But my top movie of
Yeah.
2023 was Killers of the Flower Moon.
I
I
haven't
thought
seen
that
that
was
yet.
Haven't seen it
I
yet.
need to
Need
see
to
that
see it.
still.
Need
I
to
need to
see
see
it.
that
Yeah,
still.
yeah.
Yeah. I
my
bet it's really good.
my level of anticipation for that was kind of, I don't know, it was medium. But then I watched it and I was like, just totally engrossed by the story and just like the epic nature of it, and seeing Robert De Niro decide to act in a movie, like doing a real character for the first time in like 25 years and not just sleepwalk through the film. Blackberry was really great. That was Matt Johnson's movie with Jay Baruchel and who's Dennis from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. What's his
Howerton?
real name? Glenn Howerton is so good in that movie. Made
Oh
me take him
wow.
seriously as an actor.
Oh wow,
Um,
Oh
really? From
whoa.
yeah,
Always Sunny.
yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
he's
Okay.
fantastic.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
An
Well, I
uh,
need
older,
to
balding asshole. Yeah, he's
yeah,
great.
he's such an asshole in it. Air, which was Ben Affleck's movie, I thought that was a lot of fun. I was a big fan of the Chicago Bulls in the '90s, so um, yeah, that was good. Ferrari, Michael Mann's Ferrari, which the Academy fucking hates Michael Mann for some reason. I was like, this movie's got to get Penelope Cruz and Adam Driver some nominations. Nope, nope.
Wow.
And typically they seem to ignore Michael Mann when it comes to any sort of significant awards. And then I'll let you take over here, Hans. But Godzilla minus one lived up to all the hype that it has been getting with nerds on YouTube, which made me
Yeah.
want to not like it. But it was really, it was really great, and probably the best theatrical experience that I've had in the past
Mhm.
year. So if you can see it in a theater, go see it in a theater.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's the one that I haven't been able to pirate. And the one that I actually want to see in the theater too, but I don't know if we're getting that one here.
You're
I
not
think
getting
the
that
couple,
one.
probably not. The couple that you didn't mention that I think were on our top list were both Oppenheimer and also Holdovers. That
Mhm.
were both
Oh yeah.
very good.
Is the holdovers the
That
Paul Giamatti one?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Where he has, like,
good.
a
That was
rubber
on my look decent
goop-
enough
yeah,
to
yeah.
watch list.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, it's more of a Christmas time movie. I think I don't know
Yeah.
how watching it in that time affects the quality of the movie because it's very heartfelt little movie. But yeah, it was great. I was very surprised by that type of movie. Doesn't usually grab me, but the performances are really good in this. And Oppenheimer is just like a great movie theater movie that I also didn't get to see in the movie theater.
Oh yeah.
That was because of my stupidity, but just the I fucking sound lame, but the pure filmmaking that the movie has with every element and how everything is so perfectly crafted is. I'm not the biggest Christopher Nolan fan because I feel like a lot of his movies just kind of like whenever he gets a little lazy, I'm kind of like. But when he goes full Christopher Nolan, I've always enjoyed it. I think the only one that I haven't given it a chance to was Tenet, just because within the first 10 minutes I was like, I'm all right. But I thought that the sound was fucked up in the movie. I thought my copy was bad, and apparently that's how the movie is. So I just have to give it another
Yeah.
chance.
Well,
I was like,
that's a common complaint with all his movies, right?
Mhm.
yeah,
They were saying
I
that
was
about
like,
Dark
this
Knight Rises.
yeah. I was like, this fucking copy has the bad audio, and then I would download another one. And I was like, God fucking damn it, the same fucking
Yeah.
Just
the same
downloading countless copies of it.
Malaysian person that's uploading all this is the same issue. But yeah, that's one that I have to visit. But besides that, I think it was just for me, it was a lot of discovering older movies that I knew nothing about that were a
Mhm.
lot more interesting than stuff that came out last year.
Mhm.
There's a couple. Well, Interface is one that I was very surprised by. There's an animation that's on YouTube in its entirety. It's like this very weird, psychedelic, creepy animation that he
Ooh.
turned into a movie. But it started with like very short, and it's all. I don't know if he uses paint, but it kind of looks like he uses paint to draw. It's like
Yeah.
that kind of style, but it's very elaborate.
So
and-
just to not to interrupt here, but I think Interface is a good example of like what is the art from this generation that's starting to bubble to the surface? Like, it seems like the 2010s and 2020 so far has been without much style, but I do see it creeping in here and there with movies or even with fashion, like those big red Mega Man boots, I think are a good example of like, okay, this is at least something different and they're trying to be creative. Interface, which Hans is talking about here, is one example of that. I think Skinamarink is another example of that, where maybe it doesn't, not a lot happens in that movie. But if you go with it, then I think at least the payoff of "ooh, there's a creepy face" that kind of feels rewarding. Things like that are maybe where the future is heading in
Yeah,
terms of creative
yeah, yeah,
styles,
yeah.
like stripped down, weird, internet, or Betsy Brown's Actors, which has not gotten an official release yet. It's coming out in this year. I have a copy of it that's clearly not final because they have Drake songs on there that they will never be able to afford. That's probably another example of that as well. And Hans was not a fan of that movie.
Oh my gosh.
No,
I need to, I can't wait to see it, like, for sure. And all of the stuff that you've mentioned as well. I'm also really excited about TV. Like, I really loved The Curse.
The Curse
we-
is so good.
It's so
Yeah.
good, so fucking good. Like, it was so, I haven't seen a show that I've liked that much since Twin Peaks: The Return, and it has
Yeah.
a lot of similarities to Twin Peaks: The Return as well, tonally and in terms of like thematically and stuff. It was just, it was so
Having
good.
characters named Dougie.
Yes, exactly. Having characters named Dougie, of course. And then also, we surprisingly really enjoyed the Netflix animation Blue Eye Samurai. And we've actually, because we really liked Love, Death, and Robots, that sort of anthology series, and we were like, oh, this is really cool. Like, animation on Netflix seems to be having a little bit of a renaissance. And then Blue Eye Samurai came out, and we decided to give that a try, and it's fucking brilliant story, great characters. It's like got a quote unquote strong female character, but it's not like retarded. It actually does it in like a non-retarded way, which was quite surprising. It also got George R.R. Martin's seal of approval too. And it was just a great story. It was visually really compelling, and it was a surprise. It came out of nowhere. I was expecting it to be like shit, but
Was
it
that
was
an anime?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I recently said on Twitter, I kind of got dunked on here. Someone called me out on my hypocrisy. I was because they were complaining like, "Oh, X-Men '97 is woke" or whatever. I don't know. And I was like, "Well, adults shouldn't be watching cartoons." But then in the replies, they were like, "Didn't you give a glowing review to Merry Little Batman?" And I was just like, "Oh,
Oh no.
yeah, I did do that.
You're a
Oops."
fan as well. What the fuck, dude?
it was lonely. It was Christmas time.
It was
I wanted
Christmas.
cartoon comfort.
Yeah.
Oh, what about? Oh yeah, while I have you here, you're a Prometheus respecter.
Yes.
A rare breed of human being. I'm as flawed as the film is, it's definitely one that I really enjoy and that I force Jake to watch every Christmas.
Every Christmas.
Yeah, because it has
'Cause it
Christmas
has that
themes.
has that 5 seconds in it where
Oh yeah, there's like a
Christmas
Christmas tree on the ship.
Well,
Right,
no, 'cause
yeah.
it's like, it's the whole like lore of it is that the engineers sent Christ to Earth, and then because we killed him, they want to come and kill us with the goo. There's like a whole kind of like ancient alien space Jesus thing going on
plot
there.
hold up the
Yeah.
wazoo.
And then that's why that's why I watch it at
Just
Christmas.
like the Bible, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like the Bible.
Like
Every
the
time I
Bible.
watch it, I
No,
like
it's
flip flop.
flawed. It's flawed.
It is
okay?
flawed. I think it has so many ideas it tries to pack into one movie, and it
Yeah.
conflicts with, even if you go back and you watch Alien right after, you're like, well, why is this engineer fucking 20 feet tall? We just saw Prometheus. He's like 7 feet tall. Like there are a lot of things that just like Ridley Scott did not watch his own movie before doing Prometheus. He was just going off of memory, which I kind of like that. I don't like it when you stick to the script too much. Prometheus is I remember seeing it in the theater after checking out the trailers, and the trailers were like, the sound design of it was so haunting and weird. And then I watched it and I was like, okay, that was not the movie I was hoping to walk into, but there's a lot in there that I do like. And then I got the Blu-ray of it, and I watched it a couple more times, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And there's some deleted scenes in the movie that are probably better than what's in the movie. Like, I'll give you an example. one of the guys gets infected off of the ship and then comes back to the ship. And the deleted scene version where they use like a prosthetic of what the guy's face morphed into is way creepier than what they wound up doing in the movie. I kind of wish they had left that in.
Yeah.
And I
Not just
think,
that, it fixes plot holes and makes things make sense. Like that,
Yeah.
the two scientists. There's the scene where he goes up to the snake alien thing, and he's like, "Oh, hello, baby," and it's like, why the fuck would you do that? Like, that's a really stupid thing to do. But then if you watch the deleted scenes, it's because of the dynamic between the cool Scottish weed smoking guy and the scientist guy. He desperately wants to impress this guy because he thinks he's cool and he thinks he's rugged and he wants to be friends with him. And you see that sort of explained in the deleted scene. So when he does go up to the snake, it makes sense because he's sort of posturing for the guy. There's so many scenes that were deleted that would have actually made it a much better movie and made it make sense.
Yeah.
After my last watching of Prometheus, this is my current hypothesis about it. Is that Ridley Scott really wanted to make like a full-on alien Jesus, like fucking aliens created humanity, seeded life film, which is why you've got the intro and all of this stuff. And it is basically that all the way up until about halfway. And then the motive all of a sudden changes. And it's that we're not on the creator's planet. We're actually on just a military base where they store next level biological weapons. And that's actually what all the ancient people on Earth were all pointing to in the cave paintings, was just like a fucking Lockheed Martin made by fucking intergalactic cunts. Like, fuck off, dude. You just like, and I think that is literally him being like, I want to make this fucking film. And he's kind of gotten so much of the way there. And then a bunch of like Christian people in America have gone like, whoa, you want to do fucking what? No, dude, that's like super fucking heretic. You're not going to make a film like that, like not with our fucking money. And so then he kind of morphs it into what he can, and then it becomes Prometheus
It's
at the end.
possible. It's possible.
Because there's like that plot hole is just so fucking glaring, and then none of the deleted scenes, none of it fixes any of that. That is just like a really fundamental pivot and shift in the whole like point of the film.
It was also kind of prescient to, obviously Wayland's character represents all of the sort of tech psychopaths that we have running things right now, and his like ambition to create an artificial intelligence. David's character in the film, he kind of reminds me a little bit. I thought that's my favorite aspect of Prometheus is Michael Fassbender's performance as David, and it's not just because I have a crush on Michael Fassbender, I promise. He's great in it, but I even though the film is sort of dated, it's sort of, there are themes in it that kind of tie into this weird cultural moment that we're in now with like crazy tech billionaires that like want to pursue immortality and AI and aliens too. Obviously, that's been in the zeitgeist.
Or even that like alien genesis thing is so like it's been like kind of openly spoken about in some of those UFO interviews that some
it kind of it's echoing
like and sinful to even like fucking explore it as an option. So they just ban any kind of fucking mention of it. So that's kind of the angle I'm coming from with
You're like censored, no space Jesus, it's not happening.
I was going to say it kind of echoes a little bit of what Tucker Carlson's been talking about or alluding to with the UFOs aren't actually UFOs, they're whatever interdimensional creatures, and Earth is a soul farm for I don't know, there's a lot of weird ideas that people like him and Walter Kern have been going on about but won't explicitly state, and it's like, what do you know? Who's telling you this? What is this all about?
It's getting more schizo, like getting progressively more schizo. The world is definitely, that's why our podcast is called Mystic in the Machine. Like that's our craft for sure.
It's very, when was it the guitar player for Blink-182? It's like, oh, you're gonna work for the government now, and now you're gonna talk about UFOs with the government. It's like, he's the guy. I'm sure you're gonna show him Tom DeLonge. I'm sure you're gonna show him all the classified important shit they don't want anyone to see. I mean, the guy, this guy, the guy ran naked in his music video with his other two buddies. That's the guy,
right? Him and Bob Lazar are kind of the useful idiots. I think that they probably do give them a little bit of real shit so they believe it, and then they sprinkle in a lot of fake shit. Is my assumption, and that's to discredit and just make people confused. And then you have a guy like Dave Gorsuch, who's the FBI whistleblower. I don't believe a
Oh,
thing
David
this guy's
Grush.
saying.
Oh, you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
believe
yeah.
David Grush?
No, he's got a face like this guy is trained to fucking
Just the
lie. No,
physiognomy of him just
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
agree.
nah, absolutely not. I don't believe anything he says.
But that's the exact kind of guy that would work for the government, though, dude. That's the whole fucking point. Like,
Mm.
that's I totally get what you mean, but it's
We're
also
we're working on a short right now, which is basically Doctor Strangelove, but instead of the bomb, it's alien disclosure. So it's like updated for now.
Mhm.
So doing a little. We're working on a little schizo short for that sort of thing because I thought it'd be kind of perfect for this kind of zeitgeist, and also the idea of international bodies fighting over whether to disclose. Like in our story, China basically decides to disclose um, alien technology and that UFOs are real, and it follows like the Americans in the war room sort of freaking out about what to do now that China has decided to, um, disclose, in obviously in a very comical Doctor Strangelove fashion. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm excited to put that together because like I feel like it's like very of the now, but it
Yeah.
feels like Doctor Strangelove. Every time you switch on the news now, some new schizo thing is happening. It's almost more entertaining than cinema. And in America, you guys have an election coming up this year as well.
Yeah. I mean, election years are always the most exciting years, it seems like. I have a feeling we're early into 2024. I think this is going to be a crazy year.
Yeah.
2020 was a crazy bad year. 2016 was a crazy, like, evil, chaotic, fun year.
Yeah.
And I think it probably is going to fall somewhere closer to 2016, I think, / hope.
Oh my god.
But
Oh my
we'll
god,
see.
what new brainworms are going to be born? Because I feel like
Oh,
2016 was like the
gosh.
genesis of all of the fucking brainworms and like
Mm.
fuck, God knows what new brain. I'm just not looking forward to having you guys' election cycle dominate like everything.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
an ordeal, but luckily we have movies to distract us.
Well, now we got a good list, yeah.
And now we
So
have
we
a good
got
list.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
we have a good
Well, 2024. I mean, I don't really know what's coming out. We had taken a look at what's going to be coming out in 2024, and it was like nothing but blockbusters that
Mhm.
were announced
Sequels.
anyway. You know, usually you don't find out what's actually coming out in the year until about like March or April. But it was not like I feel like it wasn't looking great, was it, Hans?
No.
Dune
Mass State
2.
Lottery.
Mass State
2024.
Lottery 2020. Yes, that's been
Hey.
coming out every year since we started working on it. But this time is for real because
Yeah.
This time
I'm
you
not
mean
doing
it.
a
Yeah.
fifth year on this fucking movie.
Yeah, I feel like the list that we looked at, it was very depressing. It was just like, oh, remember this movie from 30 years ago? Well, we have none of the elements of it, but we're going to remake it. Or, hey, remember this recognizable thing? It's got the same name, but that's it. You want to see a third of that? It's like, it's
Mhm.
just a lot of this. Why? A lot of just very calculated risks for sequels of things that we didn't really care for.
Well,
Dune
So-
3, Dune 2 is coming out. I don't really care. I'm a huge fan of Frank Herbert's like books and stuff, but I'm not a big fan of the movies. And also but they've also been under attack recently because of what's her face wore like a hijab to the fucking
Oh
um
God.
Anna Taylor-Joy's hijab, her like white hijab or whatever, to the premiere, and everyone's saying it's this like racist orientalist fucking blah blah blah. But it's like if you read Dune, it's very clearly like meant to represent like Middle Eastern culture.
Yeah,
And
no one cares though. The people that get outraged at shit like that is just like, oh, white person did something.
yeah.
It's like, and I feel like at the end of the day too, like if your job, which is not, but if your job is to just be safe or to do things for them, and then this is how they treat you, then it's just kind of like, I mean, I understand you have to play the Hollywood game or whatever, but I don't. It's difficult for me because like I want to make movies with them and I want to become successful or whatever, but I don't understand having that life where you need attention and you need to, well, everyone has to, I have to say the right thing because otherwise I won't get paid 50 million or whatever. And then it's
Mhm.
like, at least personally, I think, fuck, if I made, I don't know, 5 million, I would not do anything anymore and just go and do my own thing here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Well, I have 100 million in the bank, but I have to make sure that everything I say is safe and everything,
Yeah,
just because I
exactly.
want the children of my children to make work, I guess. I don't know. It's weird to me having to like play that game when you're already successful and
Yeah,
have
yeah.
that much money. It's like,
And they're not
Well,
investing into other things.
for me, yeah, that's for me. If I had 5 million, then it would be like, oh, cool. Well, I can probably do my own thing on whatever, small
exactly.
thing I could do. But then I can also go and make another thing, and hopefully that would
Yeah.
maybe make me another 5 million, or maybe not. But who the fuck knows? I would still go and like try and.
Mhm.
Now you got more to play with, right? Now you got like
Yeah.
you're one of those people that would want to try and reinvest in that kind of
Mhm,
thing.
mhm.
So where, how are you releasing your film this year, guys? What's the plan?
I will say though, I sold a TV show to this platform Subgenius, which is owned by Massacre Video. They put out TFW No GF, and we got like a real budget to do this thing. And what I've noticed is that when you have real money to work with, that money disappears a hell of a lot faster than when you have no money to work with. So sometimes it's not as simple as like, okay, well now you have 5 million or $1 million budget. And then, you have all this creative freedom. It's like, yeah, we have all this creative freedom, but now we have to we got to buy like wallpaper for the wall for this shoot. We got to get someone's plane ticket, things like that. It disappears really quick. So
Oh, yeah.
you got to have like a good line producer or somebody to like micromanage all of that. But in terms of Mass State Lottery, that is kind of up in the air right now. I'm thinking about, and I haven't discussed this at length with the guys who are putting out Omega Fish Corp, which is the name of the TV show that is coming this year. I might see if they're interested in it. We'll see. The distribution plan kind of remains to be seen, but I would like to give it the best opportunity at appearing in the most eyes possible without putting it on like Tubi or something like that. That would be terrible.
Are you going to do the festival thing?
I'd like to get around that. So there's a couple of distributors that have shown interest in giving it a watch to see if it would fit with their whole brand and all that. And if we go that route, then no, there probably won't be a festival tour, because the point of the festivals is usually for that
to get
purpose.
distribution, of course.
So that would save me quite a lot of money, because those will add up quick. The festival fees are ridiculous sometimes.
yeah.
And if you don't know somebody who works there, then you don't have a shot anyway.
Yeah,
so,
Yeah.
There's
Well,
also just a lot of dodgy elements in Mass State Lottery that I don't think people who are typically, in that sphere of things would be a fan of. So we'll see.
They'll love
seen
it in
the,
France.
Amputated,
Yes.
the amputated penis shot image and stuff, and in
Mhm.
France they'll definitely love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, we make movies for ourselves. We don't make movies to make money. We make movies for things that make us laugh and no one else.
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, pretty much.
Well, congratulations, boys. We're very proud of you, and Break a Leg. We can't
Oh,
wait.
thank you.
And we'll have you back on definitely. And we want to come on your show as well. Well, yeah, thank you.
Yes,
guys so
we'll get
much.
you guys on ASAP.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been a wonderful conversation. Do you guys want
Great
to
chat as always.
plug yourselves, plug away before we round out?
Sure. Go listen to Movie as a podcast about the act of cinema. That is our movie program where we talk about a different film each week. Right now we're doing a theme of Warner Brothers in the 1980s. And we covered about 9 films, I think, on the most recent show. Right now that's paywalled at patreon.com/LowRes. And we do have a new tier that we introduced where if you pay us $100, we'll cover whatever film you want us to talk about. And actually, you were talking about Jodorowsky. We have our first one of those. That's going to be The Holy Mountain. So we have to, we got to get around to watching and recording that. That's first up.
God. Amazing. I can't wait to hear what you guys think of it.
That'll be really good.
That's going to be so cool. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on, and thank you guys in the audience for listening. We shall catch you later.
All right. Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so great.